Your entire life, people have looked down at you and thought you were just never going to go anywhere. You're just going to be in the farm tending crops your whole life. And then something happens, sets you off on a hero's journey, and suddenly the village idiot isn't such an idiot.
Once in a while, I have played myself a role-playing game.
Sure, once or twice. Maybe.
Yeah. RPGs, I will say, especially in more recent years, have really branched out more in the storylines that they tell and have had some really interesting stories. But there is a classic RPG story I think we're kind of used to, which is the being the only person who is specially equipped to stop a god storyline, which I think Final Fantasy pretty much popularized.
JRPGs in general kind of had this thing where it's like, we're going to kill God today.
Yeah. It's not that Western RPGs are immune to this, because usually when fantasy comes into it, like even in the Elder Scrolls games, there is a certain level of like, well, you're the Dragonborn, and only the Dragonborn can actually stop the dragons from going, it's that whole thing. It is something that I do associate usually with JRPGs, especially like the Final Fantasy, where, you have to be the spiky-haired protagonist that gets a big old sword, and you're gonna go after, like, literally a god in order to stop them.
And even, Western Eastern doesn't matter, but even MMOs aren't immune to this syndrome as well. Notably more of the Japanese or JRPGs or Western RPGs than the other ones. But even so, a lot of them will be like, yes, you're the special hero. You're the one person in the sea of hundreds of thousands of other players, potentially, who can also be the one person. As Josh Strife Hayes likes to call it, super special awesome, I think.
The super special awesome, yeah. You're that.
Yeah. You are super special awesome, and you are the only one who can do this along with your 700 friends.
Yes, exactly. Maybe that's one of the reasons why the idea of the RPGs that are like this having like multiplayer components or something kind of loses me, because it kind of makes it but anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's especially weird with the multiplayer games, because it's like, yes, you are the chosen one, essentially. But also, they're all also the chosen ones. In an MMO, I'd rather not be super special awesome,
Sure.
I'd rather not be a chosen one for that kind of deal, because, like, I am one of many. I can be a hero or a champion, that is fine. World of Warcraft does a pretty good job with not being like, sometimes. Sometimes you're the chosen one. Generally, they do a decent job with it. You're kind of like the hero of Azeroth, but like you're not the only hero or champion of Azeroth. But sometimes they're like, you're now the most important druid. You're the archdruid, or you're the most important shaman kind of deal. They did that in the Legion. It's kind of like, but now everybody is. So it's like, no, we're just. Come on. Being the chosen one is rough. It's like there's a lot of expectation put on you.
It does make me appreciate it when they try to work their way around that of not being like the chosen one. But I think it's also kind of tricky, because you also want to know that you have a reason for playing the specific character, and that there is something special about them. I don't necessarily think you need to have that, though. I think that there's a lot you can do with the idea that you're not really anything special in this world.
And I think that's more interesting.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
I know you're not a huge modding fan, generally speaking.
I don't do it.
And I would love to do just a...
Yeah.
I would love to talk to you at some point just about modding as its own segment, because we have different viewpoints on it, I think, and that's fine. Sure. Anyways, on that note, though, Skyrim has a mod for everything. They have mods for everything. There's like hundreds of thousands of Skyrim mods. But one of the mods that's really interesting is, they may have a different name for it now, but one of them is like live another life, or alternate start mods.
I know that. Yeah,
and these ones, and these ones allow you to play the game and not be the Dragonborn. It goes, we're gonna start you out, depending on the mods, but the one I had used was like, here's a bunch of different questions on like who you are as a person, kind of deal, before you start. Like, what's your race? what are you known for? Here, like, it's kind of like when you make a character in a Mountain Blade Bannerlord 2, where it's got a bunch of questions that kind of determine the outcome for you.
And stuff, yes.
Did you play Bannerlord?
I played some of Bannerlord and Bannerlord 2, so I know that, you have to choose, like, your lineage and your specialties and stuff like that.
And you choose events that happen, so, like, this mod just kind of had a couple questions, like, oh yeah, you were a thief who got caught, or where did you last, like, were you resting, or it's kind of things, and then it'll give you a start, and there's, so many of them that you can just kind of have a different start a ton of different times. But you're not playing as the Dragonborn, which is the point of Skyrim. Like, it doesn't even start you with the quest for it. Like, unless you go and investigate, like Helgen at that point, you don't get any of the quests to do it. And you don't play as a Dragonborn throughout the entire thing. You're not the Dragonborn.
Right.
You're just this guy, or this girl, or this lizard, I guess.
Or a lizard, yeah.
Yeah. It's like you can start as a thief. You can start as a barbarian in a freaking barbarian camp. As an orc within an orc, camp. And it's like, that gives the game so much more replayability than just starting the game as Dragonborn every time. And it's like, this is fantastic, because it gives you a reason to replay it from a roleplay standpoint.
And I think that there's a perfectly good reason why role-playing as someone who is not the Chosen One is an interesting storyline to talk about as well, because you're kind of getting on the ground floor of it. I never played the Suikoden series, but one thing that because I never had the system to do it, but that was a JRPG, and that was one that was based on the idea that these characters are not special. Like, the characters that you play, you have a party, but they're nothing special. They are regular soldiers, they are regular people in this world that are the main characters of the game, telling the story of stuff that happens to them. And I always appreciated that idea being explored more.
I like the idea, and I would love to use it as like a D&D type idea for an RPG like that, where your characters aren't really anything special. You're just kind of, you are your people. You have your own backgrounds, your own life. You're not the chosen ones. You might be powerful in your own regards, but you're not the chosen one. I love the idea where you have a party that has to go take down the chosen one.
Yes.
Where you're going after this person claiming to be the right hand of God, essentially. Maybe it's a paladin that's a little haughty and over his head. Maybe it's whatever else. It's just, you're taking out either this group of adventurers or heroes who are really just kind of assholes, or just really in over their head and like being, assholes again.
Sure.
So maybe it's you're taking on the self-proclaimed, or even maybe you're bad. Maybe you just want to kill the chosen one.
Sure.
But like something like that is really cool as a concept too, because you're taking the trope, and I personally love doing this. You're taking the trope and turning it on its head.
Yeah.
You're doing a reverse trope.
Right.
I've done this before when I had my players start in an inn that was consequently set on fire.
Yes. Because
the trope is, you all meet in an inn for like D&D and stuff like that. And it's not, I don't think it's heavily used anymore, but like it's a trope. Everyone knows it. It's kind of like the bard fucks everyone.
Right. Exactly.
I like turning these on their head. You start in an inn, but it's immediately set on fire. The bard is actually allergic to sex.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Turning tropes on their head is fantastic to me. If you play as the chosen one, it's kind of like, okay, that's a trope. But if you play as an average Joe, or you have to fight the chosen one, or even maybe you're like the village idiot, would be a great thing to turn it on its head. Your entire life, people have looked down at you and thought you were just never going to go anywhere. You're just going to be in the farm tending crops your whole life. And then something happens, sets you off on a hero's journey, and suddenly the village idiot isn't such an idiot. After all, turns out they were just not doing a thing that let their potential shine through,
This reminds me a little bit of Gothic. Because I was trying to think of some examples of games that I played that are like this. But Gothic and that whole series is sort of based around that general idea. Like, like, you get tasked at the beginning of the first Gothic with, like, here's a very important letter you must deliver to the commander of the garrison. It's in your hands now. And after getting, like, absolutely destroyed by, like, random rats and moles, because you are so just meat for the fodder, you get to the garrison, you hand it to them, and they're like, thanks. Okay, bye. And it's like, what? It's like, what do you want? It's like, and it's at that point where you're like, oh, I guess I gotta figure out what I'm actually doing now, because like that was that, like, they don't care who I am. I'm nobody here in this world, and I gotta figure out what I'm doing past this. And that's kind of true, like, even in the later ones, where it's like, yeah, everything kind of sucks, but you gotta figure out what you're gonna do, kiddo, and work it out. And a lot of times it's kind of hard to set up the idea of going on a grand epic adventure if you're not someone special, which is why, like, even in Fallout, you know, you're not necessarily special in Fallout, but you are continuously tasked with doing something special in Fallout.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest example of that would be the courier.
Yeah, which is like, in any regular context, the courier is not supposed to be anyone important. The courier's just doing their job. And if it weren't for the fact that they got completely embroiled in this power struggle for the Mojave, they would have just kept being the courier and just going about their regular business, doing a regular job. But that plan changed real quick.
Kind of the whole premise of, like, the life of Brian. I
believe,
which I haven't actually watched, but I know the premise of it, and I need to watch it. It's on my watch list that I have ignored for years.
Perfect. But yes, it's the other prophet.
It's the Messiah. I'm not the Messiah.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, Jesus is in the background doing all this miracle shit.
Technically, in, like, Fallout New Vegas, it was Ulysses that was supposed to deliver the platinum coin and didn't want to, and told them, no, give it to Courier 6.
Fallout 4, I've never cared about the main storyline in there. Oh, my son was taken. Yeah, you gave me 5 minutes with a fucking infant who I couldn't connect with?
Yeah, you gotta go find Sean.
I don't care about Sean. It's been 200 years. He's dead. I don't give a shit.
I do like that if you're playing the father, you were like a soldier. If you're playing the mother, you were a lawyer. But you still have the same combat readiness when you get out into the field after they establish that.
It'd be so much different if you played Nora and, you know, instead of being combat ready, you sued the Commonwealth for stealing your son.
It would have been interesting. They could have really played with that if those are the established, you know, these are our expertises. You have, like, regular jobs, and then you end up in this situation, and then, of course, your son is, like, the most important person in the world, of course. I don't know if those are necessarily great examples of it, just because you seem to be, like, average people that are thrown into an extraordinary circumstance in a lot of those cases. There are, of course, the classic ones where you are intrinsically, inherently the hero of the story. You are the Dragonborn, you are the chosen one, you are the one that was destined to do this job. You are the Jedi.
Spiky-haired anime protagonist.
Yes, you are a Skywalker. So now go off and do Skywalker things. And that
get your hand cut off and go kill a Sith.
Go kill a Sith. Probably the same Sith that came up the last time and the one before that. They're recycling the Sith now, so might as well.
Well, there can only be 2.
There can only be 2, and they need to keep coming back for reprisals over and over again. We need more Sidious. 5 more reincarnations of Darth Sidious would be good.
Darth Maul wasn't even a Sith Lord. He was just an assassin.
They still brought him back.
They did. During the Clone Wars animated series, and then later on.
Yeah, he also appeared in Solo, when they did Solo Star Wars Story, because he's back again. He's running stuff behind the scenes.
We brought him back because he was a really cool character that they killed off in the first one.
Yeah.
And everyone loved him, so I'm sure that's why they brought him back. Let's get his hatred to fuel him so heavily that cutting him in half couldn't kill him.
Not to digress too much, but I was watching the most recent Disney Star Wars show, The Acolyte. There's a scene in that where they're talking about a character where one of the Jedi Masters was like, I saw her die. So it's like, oh, okay. And then, like, later on, because they're like, oh, we don't know if she's dead. He's like, no, I saw her fall off the thing. And it's like, oh, see, there's your problem right there. There's no fall damage in Star Wars. Do the Jedi not know there's no fall damage in Star Wars? And inevitably it's like, no, she fell like from a great distance and she woke up in a field. So it's like, yep, that's how this...
As Jedi do.
The point is that I think that there's a lot more interesting ways that you can introduce and use your characters than just you are the chosen one that needs to destroy God. I kind of like the model that they tried to set up with, like, Fable. Because in Fable, you are something special, but they kind of set up the idea that you are a hero, and there's a whole heroes guild, and there are other heroes that are trying to compete with you to be as good a hero, and so now you've actually got to, work for it.
It's kind of like what they did in One Punch Man, the anime. It's like, oh, you're a hero, and you're part of the Heroes Association. There are other heroes, too.
Yeah.
By the way. And there's also bad guys. But, like, there's heroes, and you're just one of the heroes, and you get ranked on how good you are at your job, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I'm working my way up the tier list for the heroes.
Yeah. Which is, it was a fascinating way to do that. I was like, yeah, that's fair.
That tracks. I'll tell you a good example that we could probably speak about as we end this segment, which is Cyberpunk. Because Cyberpunk is one where you're playing V, and the reason why you get embroiled in this whole thing is because of a heist gone wrong, and a virus that gets uploaded into your head.
Yeah, essentially.
There's nothing intrinsically special about V.
On a side note to that, if we're going between Fallout 4 and Cyberpunk 2077, between me getting connected to Sean in a crib or me getting connected to Jackie Wells...
Oh, no contest.
No contest, hands down, was a much more interesting character to then have taken from you, and then you having been connected to him and known him and being able to interact with him as long as you did. It's like, man, I actually want to, like, avenge this guy now.
Yeah.
That was such a better story beat.
No, I appreciated the way that they set that up, because the impetus for you to be on that quest is not to kill God. It's, I need to get this phantom of Johnny Silverhand out of my head because it's killing me. And it's like, it actually makes, like, logistic, personal sense as to why you're going on that quest in the first place, and it has nothing to do with stopping. Well, you kind of stop a corporate god toward the end, but, it's...
same thing.
What do you look for when you are having a player character introduced to you in a new RPG, and how would you like to switch things up for the future? Let us know.
How special do you want to be?
Do you want to be super special? Super awesome special? Sass?
Luckily.
Yeah.
Sass.
Let us know in the comments down below.